Hello, and welcome to Retirement Ain't Easy, Vinyl of the Month for March 2024. For this month, it is Genesis, Wind and Wuthering. And we'll discuss that coming up. Hello. So this month's Vinyl of the Month is Genesis, Wind and Wuthering. This is the original album that I bought. So Genesis is a progressive rock band, or was a progressive rock band when they first started, and their songs were usually long and meandering and had stories attached to it. But this album is was released in December 1976. And I bought it in 1977, and it is their 8th studio album after the Trick of the Tail album, and this is the second album without Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel had quit right before the Trick of the Tail album, and so it got down to 4 members then once he quit. And then after this album came out, Steve Hackett, the guitarist, quit as well. And so that just left Phil Collins, Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, and you can then, if you're familiar with Genesis albums, their next studio album was called And Then There Were Three, that came out in 1978. So those 3 guys went on to be pop music stars, for lack of a better word. They just went on to release mega hits, and then of course we all know Phil Collins went on to be a mega star as well. So most people don't know them as the original progressive rock band. So why is this the Vinyl of the Month? What's so special about this? What's the story behind this? Well, this album was the first Genesis album I'd ever heard. It was played to me by my best friend in high school, Bill, who he's deceased now. He was always coming up with new bands for me to listen to, and I'm sure a lot of these Vinyl of the Months are going to be, the first time I ever heard certain bands. And so he played this album for me, and I thought, okay, it's good, but I was into Kiss and Led Zeppelin, still am, and so I was like, okay, what's the big deal? And the big deal is that this album actually led to concert tickets, and that concert was in 1977. Let me see, what was the date, if I remember, and see if I got it written down here. March 21st, 1977. At the Austin Municipal Auditorium here in Texas. And this was my first concert ever. First concert. So that was a big deal. And then, and I was 15 years old. Yeah, I was 15 years old. And I distinctly remember the excitement and nervousness at going to this. I didn't know what to expect. This is my first concert. I really didn't know what to expect, a rock concert. So I remember walking up to the auditorium. We lived actually in Fort Hood, if you've been following me at the time. So it's about an hour drive down from Fort Hood down to Austin. And so I remember walking up to the doors of the auditorium, and I remember getting approached by a guy selling T-shirts. And this is before selling stuff out front was kind of forbidden, so I didn't know. And so he approached me and he said, "Hey, you want to buy a T-shirt, concert T-shirt?" I was like, "Okay, sure." And so I bought a T-shirt. It was less than $5. I can't remember exactly. It was definitely less than $5. And it was just a black T-shirt, and it was either stenciled or probably, I think, if I remember correctly, spray painted just silver spray paint that said Genesis, and I'm pretty sure they used a cutout pattern and just sprayed it on there. But it was my first rock concert T-shirt, and I really wish I still had it, just for nostalgia reasons. But it was my first rock concert T-shirt. I didn't know there was going to be more merchandise inside until I got inside. So we go inside. I've got my T-shirt, and that's when we saw the rest of the merchandise that was available. And so I actually went and bought my first rock concert program. And this one's a little beat up because, of course, it's been following me around the world, around where I've been since 1977. But this is from the Genesis World Tour 77 tour. And at the time, Phil Collins was doing all the singing then. After Peter Gabriel left, Phil Collins took over the singing. And they had, let me see if I can find a picture of the guys. Yeah, they had Chester Thompson on drums. Now, Chester Thompson, if you're familiar, he also plays drums in the Frank Zappa's Mothers of Invention. And so that's where I first heard him was Frank Zappa's album. And then I saw, oh, Chester Thompson, I know that dude. Well, Chester's pretty much toured with them the rest of their tours from then on. And I don't know if he did any of the last bunch that they did, but he definitely was with them all the time during this phase of their careers. So this was my first concert program. So I've got a first concert program. I wish I still had the tickets to this. Unfortunately, that ticket disappeared, but I want to say the concert cost $8, maybe $10 at most. We had upper level seats, but lower balcony seats. I guess the municipal auditorium was a floor, and then there was a balcony. We had lower balcony seats, fairly decent seats. I've sat there many times. I know I sat there to see Rush as well, almost the same seating. But we had those seats, and we're sitting in the middle of the row, kind of the right side of the auditorium. And I didn't know what to expect. And all of a sudden the lights come down. And I'm like, oh, apprehension. And then all of a sudden the stage just went boom and just lit up. And Genesis kicked into Squonk. And if you're familiar with Genesis, Squonk, that's got a really heavy dun, 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 dun. And I was just mesmerized. That out-of-body experience, maybe not out-of-body experience, but that feeling you get when there's nothing else around you, you're just focused in on something. That was me. I was looking all around, and the lights and stuff going off, and my eyes probably were just huge, and I didn't know what to think. I was like, good Lord, this is better than the album. I can't believe this. And so that was my first experience, rock concert, and it was a great one. It was also my first experience, and I'm not ashamed to say, but it was also my first introduction to the Devil's Weed. We were sitting there, and I first smelled this smell. And if you're back then in the 70s, once the concert started, it just became a fog almost in the whole auditorium. But I first smelled this, and I was like, what is that smell? And we're sitting there, and we're in the middle of the row, right? And this is the good old days when everybody was shared. And all of a sudden, my buddy Bill, elbows me, and he's got a joint. And I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? And I was looking around and see other things like this going on. So I'm like, okay. So I take it, kind of half-hearted, and then pass it on. And that was it. That was all at that concert. And so that was my first introduction to that as well. So there's a lot of firsts that came with this this album, Genesis, Wind and Wuthering. So that's this month's Vinyl of the Month. I hope you enjoyed my story. Come back next month and I'll have another story. All my Vinyl of the Months I pick them because they have certain memories for me, and I'll talk about those memories like this. And there will always be a story behind the vinyl that I pick. So, thanks for watching. Subscribe. Come back Monday. I'll probably have a video then for something other related. I don't want this to become a vinyl channel, but it may be vinyl related. We'll see. So come back if you like this. Thanks for watching and take care.